So everyone wants to know, how do you time travel? Well, guess what? Time travel is real. It's physically possible. Let me tell you how. Now this is a story. Just kidding. So this guy named Lorentz, he came up with some neat equations, and then Einstein comes along and says, whoa guys, this is some serious business. And he comes up with this theory of special relativity, which pretty much proves everything I said last video to be wrong. That is, we don't all experience the same presence. It's something called relativity of simultaneity. Special relativity says, depending on how fast we're moving, we actually move along the timeline at different speeds. And it turns out that the only absolute thing is the speed of light. And if you travel really, really fast, close to the speed of light, then time gets all messed up. So let's do a thought experiment. What happens if I send my best friend out in a rocket ship that flies at 99.99% the speed of light? Turns out that his time slows down. If we were both wearing watches, I would see his watch ticking slower, and if he was talking, you'd see him talk in slow motion. But to his perspective, everything's fine, and he flies away from Earth, and then a year passes for him, and he comes flying back to Earth, and it turns out that 70 years have passed on Earth. And he's like, what happened? So imagine it like this. In his perspective, the whole timeline gets squashed flat. So his little bead moving along the timeline moves at 1 second per second in his perspective, but everyone else's bead are moving super slow from his perspective. And so when he comes back, he's in the future. All thanks to special relativity, sort of. It's still the present for him, and it's still the present for everyone else. Just that his present is different from what other people's presents are, you know? Because 70 years in the future, and it only took 1 year for him to get there, and turns out your friend's dead, and you're the same age as your friend's grandchildren. And this is completely physically possible. The problem is, it takes way too much energy to accelerate anything with mass to that kind of speed. In fact, the closer you get to the speed of light, the more energy it takes for you to increase your speed. So to get to 99.99% the speed of light is not even close to possible by our current supplies of energy. So don't expect this anytime soon. And now let's extend the thought. It would take an infinite amount of energy to accelerate a mass to the speed of light. So it's impossible, because we don't have infinite energy. Only massless things like photons, which are light beams, can travel at the speed of light. But let's say somehow I managed to travel the speed of light. Well, what special relativity says, what Lorentz's equations say, is that it turns out time is completely frozen for me. And my watch would be completely stopped according to everyone else's perspective. So if I somehow even experience a single second at the speed of light, well, bam, there goes the entire history of the entire universe, and I go all the way to the end of the universe. What do you know? Sucks to be me. Now, to go even further than this idea, there's some crazy idea called the Alcubierre drive, which lets you travel faster than light. I don't know much about it, but it depends on negative mass. So if somehow you were negative mass, I know, WTF is negative mass, I have no clue. But if somehow you could travel faster than light, you can search this up, Alcubierre drive, and possibly go into the past? No idea, I have no idea. And there's a bunch of other possible time travel methods like wormholes that let you go in the future and into the past. But I think I'll save that for later if I talk about further dimensions. So now we know that time travel is possible according to our laws of physics. But we have no clue how to get the energy to go into the future, and we don't have a way to go into the past either, so don't worry about rogue time travelers anytime soon. Now here's where the stuff gets interesting. If time travel exists, we get into some crazy weird stuff. If you travel to the past and mess with the events of the past, it's very easy to screw up the chain of causality and create time paradoxes, which are super fun because all sorts of weird stuff can happen, like clones and parallel universes, and we'll talk about them next. So I'm gonna leave off with a cool Flash game in the description, and it's called Velocity Raptor, and it shows you what happens as you get closer to the speed of light. Because not only does time pass differently, but you also get weird things happening, like lengths changing and you being able to see a broader spectrum of light. And maybe that'll be a thing now. Maybe I'll just leave some cool links in the description. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Laters. Bye-bye.